you are your biggest supporter, but also your biggest enemy.
I really love this. If you are a founder or entrepreneur, it's how you speak to yourself in your thoughts.
And sometimes the best thing that you can do is
All right. Hello and welcome to Your Brand, Your Business, the show where we dive into stories and strategies behind building a successful and also profitable brand. I am Marie, your host of this podcast, and I am also entrepreneur and brand strategist. Today, I am excited to introduce our guest, Olga Denisova, who will be sharing her expertise on how to achieve hypergrowth of your brand. Olga, thank you so much for joining us. Can you please tell us more about what you do and who you are for our audience?
yeah. Thank you very much for the invite, Marie. Super excited to be here. And talking about myself, well, I can say that I've been doing marketing and IT for basically all my life now, professional life, and I got a chance to work in a unicorn, like being on this, hyper growth trajectory to 1 billion for 5 years. Then I got a chance to join Semrush and prepare the marketing for a successful IPO that followed, and also again like triple growth in 3 years. And now another hyper growth company for me, which is GotPhoto.com, my current place where I oversee all things marketing. And we're now again on this mission, like to conquer the world.
I love this vision and mission that you are on with GotPhoto.com. Uh, I really also like that you worked in the past for Semrush because I'm using Semrush for a lots of tasks, and I think that it should be really great experience at the beginning of your career, and then really smoothly navigating your own entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some lessons that you have learned from working for Semrush?
Yeah, well, there were a lot. I would say the first and most important lesson that I got from my SEMrush experience is experimentation is key. And when we talk about experimentation, it is very often limited, like to paid advertising, or landing pages. So it's usually about certain channels and certain activities. But the SEMrush culture taught me that experimentation is just your mode, your style of work, and literally like anything that we used to launch in SEMrush, um, we used to test. It's like never ending testing. And um, this is why, like, one of the key achievements that I consider during my time with SEMrush was also establishing a separate team, actually, whose entire job was to find, this. I'm mindful of the word growth hacks, because it's about like short-term effect. Their job was to find actually growth engines, I would say. So they were entirely focused on finding gaps, outlining gaps, what gaps we have in our strategy, and testing, like new tools, new approaches, what we're missing out, what's new in the market. So before we implement it on a regular basis, it was always test first, and that was one of my biggest lessons there.
Wow, I love it. Especially like me as a founder, you always have so many hats on your
Yeah.
head, actually. Like you are doing everything from like implementation to marketing to strategies, etc. And you just naturally experiment, you test, you don't know what you are doing. I never had a really marketing degree, I never really learned it the traditional
Yeah.
way. And you just try. And then I hired a marketing person for my company, and she's like, yeah, we need to do A/B testing. And I'm like, what is it? I'm really curious about this strategy. And she's like, yeah, this is what you actually do. You just test, you experiment. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I learned something new.
Yeah. And you actually raise a very good point, Marie. This is about like sometimes you need to just go with your gut feeling, and this is, I think, very unusual for us marketers. I mean, marketers, by degree or again by title, because for many years we used to function in super data driven environment. There was like a data point for everything, but then, I mean, thanks to GDPR and so many, mobile devices where like we were a mobile first generation, right? It is very often that you just lose tracking of all the customer touch points, right?
Mm,
And so this is where your gut feeling comes into play. And basically, you just showed, the best lesson for marketers. Sometimes you just need to trust your gut and just go out there and again test without probably some data proving that you should do that.
mm.
So
And
makes
also
sense.
the fancy phrases. It's
Yeah,
also like to understand sometimes the marketers. It's really hard. Like I
yeah.
struggled for a really long time to like remember what is outbound and inbound
Yes.
marketing. And every time I'm like, which one is which? And every time
Yeah,
like I'm googling it, like which one I actually do, and like what does it even mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's really funny, but yeah. Also, I really like that you work with the companies currently, also with your business, and you help people to stand out while also scaling rapidly, which is something really impressive. Because if we want to scale up our startup, our company, we sometimes also lose the authenticity in the competitive market. So, can you tell us more about how company can build a brand that authentically actually stand out, and they can still keep this identity while
Yeah,
still scaling rapidly so that they can reinvest their revenue,
yeah.
etc.
Oh my God. I love your question. So first, I would say that your brand strategy very much depends on where you are as a business, right? Whether you are a startup or a mid-sized, like established company, or a scale up or an enterprise, right? So if we talk about startup, just again starting your journey, I would say I love to say that you better be cringe than boring, because very often startups just look up at the bigger companies like, oh, I want to be like HubSpot, and think big is like great, and I love people with ambition, but at the same time you do need to realize that you don't have the budget, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the history of bigger brands, and you cannot rely on their strategies. You need to invent your own. And when inventing your own, again, it's more about capturing attention rather than playing by the rules. And so just be bold, be super unusual, unconventional, and you mentioned the part about being authentic to the audience. So just cut the crap. And I mean, people really appreciate that you're superhuman, that you're super relatable, that you're close to them, and just call the spade a spade, right? So if there is some problem in the market, don't hide behind these fancy words like boost your revenue or build a sustainable business. I mean, we don't speak like that in real life, right? And probably again, bigger companies can get away with it just because they again have certain legacy. But if you're just starting your journey, I mean, speak like a real person, and don't be afraid again to sometimes share some bold statements and bold vision. People would appreciate that.
Mm,
And I mean, as you grow and as you scale, I would say here my advice would be try to appear bigger than you are. Not in terms of again deceiving anyone, like stating wrongful facts, but about again your vision, like the way that you see the market. Yes, you may be just a company with 100 employees, but it does not mean that you cannot be again ambitious enough, big enough in your vision and what you share. And yeah, don't be again afraid to come there and share your view. So at this point, again, probably being cringe is not the best strategy anymore. But again, uh, not being afraid to think big here as a scale up, I think it's important. And
Mm,
when you are like a bigger company, I think the biggest uh, pitfall of any bigger company is actually losing consistency and losing brand entity. Because I mean, for the sake of a better example, um, or like very vivid example, let's talk about like super big brand like McDonald's, for example, or Apple. No matter what location you are, you know for sure that okay, this is McDonald's or this is Apple. There is brand consistency in terms of visual, in terms of tone of voice, in terms of again look and feel, and it's super important as you are growing, as you are establishing your global presence, to be really consistent. So, and I think here the best. I would just refer, I would usually refer to a certain ratio between like the global consistency and like localization part. So for me, it's like 80% should be super consistent, so it's like 80/20.
mm,
80% of your brand should come from, again, from the global visions, being super consistent across the globe. But then you tweak, you iterate, you localize the rest, which is like 20%. So in this way, you can be sure that, again, Semrush, for example, that you see in the States is the same Semrush that you see, let's say, in Australia or in Japan or in MENA.
mm. I really like what you said that at the beginning you should be more cringe than anything
Yeah,
else. And I would say that this is usually about the founder, that the founder should be cringe to drive the vision and to drive the company. And then when there are, for example, 100 employees plus on the board, there is where the consistency is coming, because like all, you cannot like just expect that 100 employees in your company will be cringe. It's you who
yeah,
is driving the vision, who is driving also the employees. And based on like how cringe you are, you usually do something extraordinary what is not normal, right? Like on
yeah,
in this like real life. So it's why people consider cringe, etc. And you should be cringe. You should actually
yeah,
push the boundaries towards the vision that you believe in. And then you put the employees inside your company who drives the consistency with 80/20 rule, so that you have the presence on the global and local market. And also the rhetoric is really important. I also heard that right now the main trend of 2025 is that you should be people are interested in emotions, like
yeah,
for example what we see on Instagram, on LinkedIn, that people wants to connect with a human, especially now with the AI boom, where everybody use like endeavor boost the revenue,
yeah,
or like this kind of like a machine rhetoric. People are interested in like behind the scenes, who you are as a human, and like emotions. For example, for me, the best what worked recently was a reel where I sold my first course. I was working on the online course for 1 year, and I recorded myself like how I sold my first course. That it was like wow, like the kind of moment like that you start to like that you actually see the energy coming back to you, what you have built it for so long. And this reel made such a success on Instagram, like this kind of like raw emotions that who
yeah.
what is it to make you human. So, what do you think that are other trends this year?
Yeah, you actually touched upon one of the biggest ones, which is founder-led brand, and I think it comes as, I mean, the precursor of this is just, yeah, the involvement of social media and personal branding, right? And so sometimes personal brands are even stronger than companies ones, right? And so when it comes to founders or to leaders of the company, it's very often, it's not the company that impacts the founder's brand, but vice versa, right? So sometimes founders' appearance, charisma, um, is so strong that it can be the foundation for the whole company identity. So founder-led brands, that's definitely one of the biggest trends that we're seeing. Also community-led growth, where again, imagine that you're again at the beginning of your journey, or in general your constraints. You have certain constraints in your budget, which is very often, which is a very often situation nowadays in the market. You do not have capacity and funds to uh, to roll out a massive paid campaign, and also people are just tired of ads. And so I would say the best foundation that you can put for your brand is to have community led growth, which means that instead of investing into paid, you invest in your people,
Mm,
in your customer base, in general, in the community around your brand, and you're present. Let's say at the forums or in social, you support word of mouth, and you just focus on how else you can accelerate this, reference, this referral motion with everyone else. So community-led growth, I would say, is the trend number two. And the third trend that I'm seeing in general is the reliance on video. So video is really big. It had been growing in the past 5 years, like tremendously. And I remember before it used to be like, okay, this is like nice to have type of content. Right now, I would say it's number one. And remember when we started to think about like mobile first design. So I'm quite sure, give it like probably a year or a couple years from now, and I'm quite sure we will think about content strategy as video first strategy.
mm,
So instead of, it used to be like, okay, we need to seed some idea, we need to educate audience. Okay, what do? We probably do some text based formats like blog, white paper, again some other probably gated content. But these days it's okay, what video can we shoot, like okay, what reels, what YouTube shorts. So it's all about video content. And then you think, okay, probably I can also populate a blog from it. Probably not. So yeah, that's the third, I would say, one of the biggest trends that I'm seeing.
mm. Thank you so much for mentioning this, especially with the video. It's actually my favorite because I love to rather like speak on camera than like to
Yeah,
write, because like to express my thoughts, it's for me faster to speak them up rather than
yeah,
write them down.
yeah,
Nowadays, especially like we have really good cameras and things like this. And I was just thinking about it recently because in a lots of conferences and lots of personal brand leaders, influencers, they usually mention like, don't worry, video is not that big. If you don't like video, you can do like other stuff. And it seems to me rather like assurance for the people in the audience that like you can be in your comfort zone, that you can still get through if you like the text, if you prefer to write than to record
yeah,
yourself, which is totally all right. You should be your authentic self. If you are good in writing, then write. Don't record the video if you don't think that this is your thing. But on the other side, I think it's that where the people go outside of the comfort zone, because this was all throughout the history, or like it's like public speaking is number one fear, right? And when we are recording video, we get this fear of public speaking. And also behind the recording video, there is so much of work behind. Like it's not just about recording, to be
yeah,
honest. And I think that most of the people who are currently listening, they can also relate to. There is the whole workflow behind one reel. To actually publish it, you need to
yes,
record it, you need to script it, you need to edit it, trim it, then double checking, quality checking. And it takes so much time to produce the video that I think that not a lot of people invest in producing the video, because they want to be in their comfort zone and they actually realize how hard it is to produce the video at the end of the day. So
yeah,
what is your take on this, as you have the GotPhoto.com? So how do you usually deal with this workflow, or what would
yeah,
you advise to the people who are dealing with
yeah.
this comfort zone kind of fear.
Yeah, exactly. So I think first and foremost, you also obviously again you always need to think about your audience, right? So I mean, to be fair, regardless of the biggest trends, there are industries which are more, I would say, conservative, and which also again still rely more on again text heavy formats, like if we talk about like banking or again financial service, any type of financial services or insurance, like whenever again we talk about more I would say slowly developing like industries, obviously again text can still be great for them. Secondly, what you mentioned is okay, probably again your best format is text. Of course, again, you you can rely on text only. But I think again the key question is you can rely on text, but you still need to be out there, like to keep an eye on what's evolving, and you just need to be realistic that okay, probably your audience is going to shrink in a couple of years just because again for the audience it is easier again to sometimes consume videos, or I'm quite sure also a lot of listeners will recognize themselves. How often do you just you do not actually watch the video, but you just read the
Mm,
captions, like with your sound off. So it's again it's totally different pattern of information consumption. So you need to be realistic about this. And okay, if you are not comfortable enough to speak on the camera, hey, there are so many motion agencies. There is AI now, and okay, we are like 20 minutes into recording, and it's only now when we mention AI, which is actually great because everyone talks about AI these days. But yes, there is AI obviously that can also again help you with that. So again, the bottom line is first think about your audience and whether you're in danger again losing some of the portion because you were afraid of this particular format. And secondly, defer to the tools that can you help
mm,
again, not necessarily speaking on the camera, but instead, again, using motion graphics or again, AI avatar or something.
mm,
So, and the way that we work with it in GotPhoto specifically is first we outsource because, yeah, like you said, video is not the easiest format, but at the same time, not every company can afford, having a full motion agency, like internal agency in house. So there are so many agencies out there who can help you with videos for a very very modest check. Because again, AI now automated a lot of parts of the video and make it easier. So my recommendation would be just yeah, go out there and outsource.
mhm. I really like this, especially what you said about user experience. I never thought about it, even though I am doing it too. That sometimes I just don't want to listen anything, and I watch videos without the sound. So this is also a really interesting idea or the pattern that the people who are creators they should think about how they are developing the videos for the exact audience for the exact user, and
Yep.
to not like overload or overwhelm the user on the other side, the audience. Because if you post every day the speaking videos of yourself, the audience might find it overwhelming, because when they go on your feed and they see that they need to have a sound on all the time, it's you might lose the audience by this, because you will not catch the audience that currently doesn't want to have, for example, sound. So it's also interesting to think about it as a strategy, that you should have some more like speaking heavier reels where you are saying more of the ideas, like for example we do during this podcast, and some other which are, for example, just really aesthetic with some text where the people can relate to, so that you satisfy the all users that are at your current feed. So this is a really interesting takeaway for me, and I hope also for you who is
Yeah.
listening right now from what Olga just said. And I would like to speak also more about you, Olga, because you also are doing amazing things. And from the branding perspective, I want to know more what you are actually doing, like from the personal brand perspective, because you're also active on LinkedIn, or if you more tend to go to the company brand, and what is the reason for you to choosing this exact strategy for yourself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. First and foremost, I appreciate your kind words. I would say that I started doing LinkedIn actually not for the sake of personal branding, and honestly, there was no strategy as such. It was more like an experiment for myself. I think a couple of years ago, I reached the point when I had a lot of, ideas and thoughts, bubbling up in my head, and sometimes I would just, I wake up at night with some thoughts about marketing or about career or about leadership lessons, or like reminiscing about like my past experience. And I was like, okay, probably it's going to be interesting for someone, but honestly I was not sure. And I was obviously, as many of us, also struggling with the imposter syndrome. I think it's just it's your I would say now kind of best friend as you climb the ladder, or like as you progress in your professional life. It's just you always fight with your imposter syndrome. And so it was an experiment. Okay, like what happens if I start posting? So, and I would say that was my strategy at the very beginning, just endless experiments, but also again doing things that and raising questions that no one raised at this point, at that point at least. For example, to give you an example, I remember again back 2 years ago, um, there was no such thing as reports about LinkedIn algorithm. Like everyone was making their guesses how things work. And I remember couple years ago people were like, okay, I think if I attach a photo, I think it's going to grab some more attention, but no one again could put a finger on it, like how particular it influences your experience, so sorry, your performance of your post. And I remember I was like, okay, why don't I do a public A/B test? And I remember I published two posts. One, like they were completely the same, completely identical, with only one difference, and it was having a photo without a photo. And I was like, hey guys, I'm doing this open A/B test. If you see this post, like put a like. And then I was just measuring, the amount of likes, and then I was again super open, sharing my final numbers of the posts with everyone. And I remember these were like my early viral posts, because everyone was like, "Oh, this is curious! Like, I want to be a part of this open test." And then I remember I was also very vulnerable, I would say. I just remember I also, even though I was already a senior leader, a VP in Semrush, I was just very honest about, hey, like, I wish I knew these things, but I didn't. And this is how I struggled because of that. And again, back then, I remember it was relatively unusual format, because everyone, I mean, we all want to appear, super professional. Like, we all
Mhm.
know all of the things, like, and we usually share about things that we learned already and or about successes. But I was like, again, I didn't know these things, and I'm really sad about this. But this is, this is what I didn't know, and I hope that you guys get a chance, to spend some time on it. And so, yeah, so first it was a lot of experimenting, then it was showing you human side, and that's the thing about personal branding, right? So you really need to be personal, and I think my ultimate litmus test was whether I feel a bit uneasy about posting something.
Mhm.
Because I mean, again, if you share something which you're 100% comfortable about your another win in your career, I mean, yeah, of course it's obvious. But think about, okay, again, what is it that I'm really sad or I feel uncomfortable or I struggle with, That's the part in personal brand.
Mhm.
That's your personal thing, your personal struggles, your personal, um, again, sad things sometimes. And so yeah, I started also sharing. So to give you an example, um, I'm an introvert by nature, and for me, sometimes it's really hard to be a leader because a leader is about connecting. It's about driving, leading people, and sometimes it means that you need to have like 20 minutes, 20 meetings per day, and literally your job is to talk to people, but I'm an introvert and I struggle sometimes. And sometimes I just need an hour for myself, but I don't have this luxury. And I was, again, it was, I would say, one of my most best performing posts ever. I was like, okay, these are 5 lessons for me as an introverted leader. And no one, I don't remember, like, again, anyone speaking publicly about this. I did see a couple of posts following up my post, but at that point, I remember I received so many comments from so many people, incredible leaders, who said that, actually, Olga, I struggled so much being an introvert and a leader. Thank you so much for being open about this. And yeah, so all of a sudden you become a leader by just naming some things that we are just afraid to name and to call out. So that was my third lesson. Just don't be afraid and post about something that everyone is afraid to post.
I really love this speak up culture that is currently evolving on
Yes.
the social media. I think that we are not yet there. It's just like blooming right now,
Yeah, yeah,
especially like
yeah,
2025, that the trend is to actually really like connect with the people behind the AI and to speak your emotions and behind the scenes. And there are a lots of personal brands that are exactly connecting with the higher purpose. Like, for example, that you were struggling with being the introvert leader, so then you can connect, for example, with some company which is actually like doing the researches for the introverts, that is like moving the things, or I know other leaders who, for example, are struggling with imposter syndrome, so they speak openly about their current state of emotions every day, being the founder with imposter syndrome. Or, for example, there is a lady. She doesn't have a dogs, but she is very much like fighting for the dogs' rights, and she's
yeah.
doing actually fashion. And
Wow.
it's she doesn't really sell, like, for example, like skins of the animals or anything like this. She doesn't really like push forward her company in this regard. She has a really like a company brand and her brand, and she's really visible leader, and she's really going really hard towards like enhancing the rights of animals in Czech Republic. And
Yeah,
it makes her like really big PR, because Czech Republic is like there are a lots of dogs, like every second person, I think, it's the dog owner. So she's like getting the market from
yeah,
I mean, it's like the side effect, of course, like she doesn't do it because she would get it's not her marketing strategy. It's rather that she connects with these values. And the Czech Republic is like a dog culture, so then it has this side effect also for her company. So it's really interesting to see this as a founder, that all of your fears and the things that you are thinking that are not right, to actually speak it up currently on social media is doing really great thing, that other people who are there, they will connect with the same fears that you are having, and they're just, it's, I would not say like that they are afraid of speaking it up. It's, they just think that maybe the social media are not the place where they should share this. There was also this kind of like saying, I don't know, like 5, 10 years ago, that I don't want to be the one who is crying on social media.
hmm,
And or like my friends were like, yeah, you are crying on social media. It's not like that I was like crying, like really like, ah, but rather that I was like sharing my emotions, what I think, and they consider it as like crying, that I should just be professional, that I just should speak with I don't know suit and like a really like with the proper rhetoric like Obama, but it's no longer where we are with social media. People wants to connect with the real people and the AI. Do you actually think that AI highlighted this phenomenon?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think with the evolvement of AI, it became even more important to show the human side of things. And I think for many of us, it's kind of, I would say, it's so interesting how contradictory it is. We all admire the AI wave and how many things it can do, but at the same time, no one wants to be treated by AI. Should it be like an AI support agent or like AI creative agent? Like imagine that you reach out to the agency and you really want, let's say, a good copy,
Mm,
and they say, okay, so we can assign a real professional copywriter to you, or we can provide copy that AI generated.
mm.
And I'm quite sure that it's actually interesting, like, which one would you prefer? Is it AI or is it a human copywriter?
For me, I would. I was just thinking when you were asking, and I would say, let's try with the AI, and then let's get the human copywriter afterwards.
Exactly, exactly. So that's the thing. Like, regardless of how excited about AI we are, we always want to have some human double checking on it after it produces the result. And I think that's key to actually to today's brand as well. Everyone jumps on this bandwagon of we are AI driven or we are AI powered, which is, yes, can be impressive, but because everyone says the same thing, I feel like sometimes AI is considered not a power anymore, but instead almost like a commodity or even a turn off factor, because you're like, okay, you're AI driven, but what else? Like, and how can I make sure that I get a decent result from AI? And if I want to change anything about this result, that there will be a human being who is going, to help me navigate the whole process.
Mm,
So yeah, to your question, yes, AI definitely, I would say, highlighted that there are so many things, so many factors that AI cannot just account for. And I think the biggest parameter here is just, empathy and ability, to sympathize and just, to understand the context. And I'm talking first and foremost about like the emotional context. And it's only humans who can do that. So yeah, yet again, we just realized that emotions and empathy and all the feelings, this is what makes us human.
mm.
And yeah, we just need to stick to that, to, I would say, to own it. Yeah, so let's own our emotional side here.
Especially, I just have in mind that AI is quite young. I mean, like
Yeah,
there were like AI engineerings before the AI boom, but this like usage of the AI ChatGPT, it's currently on the market for 3 years, I think, not even maybe. And I'm just like really curious right now if the AI will be able to evolve with my brand. Because, for example, that I mean, of course, like you can train it, etc. But let's say that I, for example, made my own, or recently I actually made my own GPT model for the different activities to help actually the different teammates in my team
yeah,
to speak similar like me when they are creating the marketing contents, etc. And it's really save us a lot of time and money because they were actually like our team was like Marie, can we please have this like ChatGPT license, and like for each team member then like you have 10 people in your team, so it's like 20 per one head, plus also you have this like then you are starting to think also about this like premium, which is 200 per month. And I was like thinking like, yeah, if we need it, like yeah, we can get it. But then I was like, yeah, I can create my own GPT model and program it like how I speak. This I need to do myself because I know the best how I speak and
yeah,
nobody can do it behalf me. and I just distributed this like GPT models based on their tasks and how they are actually proceeding with the different activities in our company. But I'm just thinking right now, as we go further with AI, how the AI can actually evolve with me, so that it might be something really interesting in the future, because every company, every founder, be it a personal brand, company brand, it's evolving to some extent. Of course, when you then get into the higher sphere as being McDonald's, cheeseburger is just cheeseburger. Like there is not a lots of rocket engineering behind it. I mean, you have the trends that the McDonald's is still using and going along the generations. But as personal brand, you really go for the evolution. You want to evolve with your brand, and your brand is evolving with you. So I'm just like thinking how we can achieve the evolution of AI alongside the founders who are doing the personal branding as their number one strategy. So this just pops into my mind currently, that this might be maybe challenge, because AI is young currently, and it's definitely important to use it, but to also think about the risks, think about the challenges. And many of my clients, they use it in the lazy way, that they just write the prompt, write me, for example, the LinkedIn post. And then there was not the double checking of the text. It uses the AI heavy words. It uses the dashes, the long dashes. This
Yeah,
I'm really a bit allergic towards, because it's like giving the first impression, okay, this is ChatGPT.
yeah.
Are there any other tips that when you as a marketer look at the text or the script or anything what we are currently producing as a content, that you say like, yes, this is AI, like I don't connect with this person at all?
Interesting. Um, yeah, the notorious M dashes.
Yeah.
I think yeah. There was a lot of buzz about these dashes. Poor guys. So I would say for me, I mean, I don't mind people using AI. Obviously, again, I mean, it's just another tool, right? So I'm not obsessed like whether it's AI or not. For me, it's like at the end of the day, if it delivers any value. And I would say that's the problem with some of the AI posts. It's not that they were written by AI, but it's the fact that they do not deliver any value. They're like very, it's fluff, like watery. Like the content is like fluffy, watery, and they just lack essence, right? Because sometimes, and it can happen again with human written posts as well. It's just it doesn't give you any food for thought. It doesn't give you any revelation. It doesn't give you any unique uh, content. And that's the problem with it.
Mm,
So I'm quite sure a lot of witty written posts are also generated, at least to some extent, with the help of AI. But as long as they are witty, they have some character to them. I mean, yeah, it's fine. So at the end of the day, whether you use AI or not, just think about what's the main idea, what's the main lesson, what's the main emotion that my audience is going to derive from this post. And if you're not able to answer this question, no AI will ever help you.
mm. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially like sometimes it feels on LinkedIn that it's like copy pasting, because it's like
Yeah,
machine produced, and if you don't add your experiences, your background, emotions, etc., it's really just copy pasting. And people also, like, there is a big widespread thing, which is that like people write the AI post, AI comments on the post, and AI replies on a post. I mean, what is at the end of the day really your goal to get from this marketing strategy? Like,
yeah,
why you do the AI commenting when you don't do anything with this result? Because I have, for example, like two, three people who are like commenting on my posts with AI, but they never really reach out to me. They never really like ask me how I am, what I am actually doing, or they never even pitched me. I mean, this is just like basic, right? Like if you use the
Yeah.
AI to comment on my post, just pitch me at least something so you have the return of investment. But if you are just spreading around
Yeah.
your AI bots, I mean, just tell me like what is the reason?
Yeah. Yeah.
And bless you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's yeah, no, you're so right. And I saw this there is like this whole very interesting industry of engagement pods and AI supported profiles, and you can see them like they boast like 50K of followers and like 700 comments per post, and then it's like comments are all the same, and you can just see it, and you just wonder like it's so obvious that it is all fake. So what are you trying to do with this?
Mm,
And honestly, I don't have the answer. But yeah, it still bugs me like um, what's the value that you want to get from there. And it feels like it's just some vanity game, and probably people did not just spend enough time, let's say on LinkedIn, to actually realize how visible it is,
mm,
that they try to play the system. And I'm quite sure at some point it's going just to play against them, because
mm.
again it's so obvious.
Yeah. Can you tell me also more about how somebody can differentiate themselves and create a brand that truly stands out? So, how would you like? What would you recommend to
Yeah.
the people who wants to create a brand that currently stands out on social media?
Okay. I would say it's a game of two parts. So first, you need to understand again your value, and what can you bring to the table, to the discussion, to the LinkedIn community, because you can follow certain tricks like creating certain hooks, or again participating in engagement pods and driving this artificial engagement and tricking the algo. But at the end of the day, if you're lacking the essence, if you're not covering the topic that you are not truly knowledgeable about or passionate about, um, probably not in a couple of months, but in a few, your audience will just realize that again there is nothing behind this trick program. So start with what do you consider to be your value, both professionally but also personally. Who are you? What makes you you? Like, is it again, do you adore dogs, or do you fight for the uh, eco topics, and do you support like the ecology, or are you passionate about traveling or anything else? So create your own personal brand based on your authentic qualities and knowledge. So that's one part. But then read the room, as they say. But in this regard, just check the context. So, what do you think is happening in the market, and what is in demand, right? So, if there is again demand or on certain type of topics, on certain type of formats, and on certain type of again characters, and then first checking again with yourself, but then checking with the context, with the market, with the existing community. You will understand, okay, so this is what I can bring, and this is at the same time what right now is missing out there. And then you kind of connect two pictures, and this is how you build your unique brand USP as an expert. So I would just start with these things, but also don't get into this analysis paralysis. And sometimes the best thing that you can do is just again go out there and start testing,
Mm,
because yes, you're going to create some vision, but it's going to be purely theoretical. and then you need to test it by practice.
Mm, I love it. So it's actually discover who you are, be cringe, test it, implement it, repeat.
Exactly, 100%. Yes.
Nice. My last question would be, what would you advise to your younger self at the beginning of the career after gaining all of these experiences that you landed to today? What would be the one advice that you would give to yourself and to also other young founders who are like starting with their brand? So, what would you advise them, and what would you also advise to yourself at the beginning?
Yeah. Um, you are your biggest supporter, but also your biggest enemy. So first and foremost, work with yourself. Um, Learn how to support yourself, and at the same time, learn how to fight your inner, your inner devil, which is doubts, like self doubts, and learn how to not let yourself undermine yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, that would be, I would say, my my biggest learning so far and advice. Learn to support yourself and learn to find against your own demons.
Mm. I really love this because at the end of the day, if you are a founder or entrepreneur, you are really like with yourself, and like you might sometimes feel lonely, and it's how you speak to yourself in your thoughts. So that's a wrap up for today's episode of Your Brand, Your Business. I hope you get some valuable insights to take your brand and business to the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today, especially when you are an introvert. If you, for example, need to speak to yourself better in everyday life as a founder, and you want to also put yourself out there on the spot on social media. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and also to you, Olga. And I will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.